Still eating, but we have a packed program, and we want to make sure that we leave the mayor all the time that he needs to share his story. I have a few, of course, some chamber commercials. But first, I want to make mention that today's event is being recorded for re-webcast, courtesy of Hamilton County Television. Our folks with Logan Street signs and banners, Jim Wofford's in the back, and we appreciate all the support that they've given us and to bring this event to the people that can't be here today. So thank you, Jim, and your team. If you want to catch the rerun of the mayor's program, you can do that beginning later today on Hamilton County Television's website. I also want to draw your attention to our friends Marla from Luna Language Services, who is here to offer some inclusive language interpretation. It's something you'll see at our larger events throughout the year. We want to make sure that folks that are hearing impaired or sight impaired have the ability to fully participate in our events, and today is a start of that. So we thank them for their service here. I also want to, today's event, there's a lot of logistics to figure out, who's going to be in the room and at every table, and so our team at the Chamber has worked real hard over the past several weeks to make events possible. And so I want to give a shout out to Tom Marquell from our team, who is somewhere in the room for his great work here. But I also want to introduce three people to you from our team. Jillian Cook, our high school intern, is somewhere in the room. I know she has to leave real soon, but we want to thank you. Thank you, Jillian. She's been a great addition to our team, fully integrated, and some of these slides that you see are her productions. So we appreciate, Jillian, your good work on our behalf. Jeannie Clark, we have a partnership with Nickel Plate Arts where we share some staff, and we just brought Jeannie on to help us with some administrative work, and she's over here. I'm a little blinded by the lights, so I can't see you, but I think you're standing up over there. Thank you very much. Welcome aboard. She's been on board just a couple of weeks. And also, we were thrilled to have a familiar face of Noblesville join us on our staff. Christy Spieler, who you may know from connections with other chambers or the city's parks department, but Christy became available to us, and we were really thrilled that she was going to join our team. So Christy, welcome to the Noblesville Chamber. We thank you so much. You'll see she's going to do a lot of outreach for us. And many of you know her really well, so if you're interested about how to connect to the Chamber, you certainly can reach out to her. Other events coming up, I want to make sure that you know that we have our traditional events that have been scrolled on the screen. We do have something called and you'll get a sneak preview of some of the things today, a $1 billion tour coming up in late October, economic development tour of Noblesville that is by invitation. We do have some sponsorships available, and that is sponsored by our Chamber's AEC network, which is Architects, Engineers, and Construction. And if I can just get the AEC network members to stand for a moment so folks in the room can see who they need to reach out to. I think Mike Grubb, a couple of them are over at Mike Grubb's table here. Thank you, folks from Meyer Nasium, Darren Peterson. If you want to learn about the $1 billion tour and how you can become involved, see one of those folks for that event. That's coming up in late October. State of the Schools is coming up on October 26th at the Noblesville Schools Community Center, that new room over on Field Drive, and that will be featuring our new superintendent, Dr. Dan Heil, and I think Dr. Heil is in the room. There he is in the back. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. We look forward to hearing your presentation in just about 30 days. And speaking of school boards, we are hosting our candidates forum for the school board like we traditionally do on Monday, October 24th in the city council chambers from 6:30 to 8. There are 5 candidates. All 5 candidates have agreed to participate. I know that we even have, we have one candidate, Chuck Haberman in the room, and Joe Forgy, our other school board candidate. If there's others in the room, I'm sorry if I missed you, but thank you for being here and thank you for your candidacy. And then lastly, before we move on to the program, our Our Chamber Foundation, the Advancing Noblesville Chamber Foundation, is partnering with Mayor Jensen and the City of Noblesville on the Advancing Noblesville Awards. There's just so much good news in Noblesville. There's so many great individuals, nonprofit organizations, and businesses, and they deserve to be celebrated for their commitment to the community, what they do outside their own business walls or organization walls, what they do inside their business and their organization walls. And so we had over 50 nominations come in. They were wonderful. We have a team that is working through that, those nominations. We do have a list, a partial list of finalists that we are prepared to give you a sneak preview on. But I would like to invite our foundation board, the Advancing Noblesville Foundation board members, to stand. Aaron Smith, I think Christy Crosser is here. Patrick Probst is here. Again, I can't see if there's other, oh, Esther Leaks. If you want to learn about how you can become engaged with the foundation's work or be involved in that awards ceremony as a sponsor, they would certainly welcome the opportunity to speak to you. So I'm going to give you a quick sneak preview of some of the characters that we will be recognizing. These are the finalists, not necessarily the winners, right? We choose a winner from finalists, but under the best construction category, we have Debbie Daughters Bakery and Cafe. We have the folks at Suburban North Club and the Noblesville Preservation Alliance. Business of the Year, Gaylor Electric and our friend Chuck Goodrich. SMC Corporation of America, our largest employer in the city. We have under our community and public service, we moved some of the nominations to different categories. And interesting, our friend in the back, Jim Wofford, Logan Street Signs and Banners, Hamilton County Television, under that category. Also, the Robert Settlement, Brian Glover, for his work in the community, both on the Bicentennial, Robert Settlement, and through the Noblesville Diversity Coalition. Rising Star, we have several in that category. 9th Street Bistro, Rachel and Samir Mohammed. Debbie's Daughters Bakery. And our friends from Bika Cafe, Anastasia Platonova as well. And under Small Business of the Year, again, partial list, Reggie's Motorworks, Reggie Stewart, McGavick Outdoor Power Supply, Brian McGavick. Sometimes businesses do a lot of great things in the community behind the scenes and you're not aware of them, or I'm not aware of them, and so we're going to be able to showcase some of those. Those are just, it's a partial list of those folks that are in the finalists for our Advancing Noblesville Awards. So if you know of any of those folks, congratulate them. They do not know that they made the finalist. You are the first to know. They will know this afternoon. So that event is November 17th at Harbor Trees. Again, if you want to sponsor that event, there's sponsorship opportunities available. So on to the program. We were thrilled when we planned our annual state of the city to find out that our Lieutenant Governor was eager to be here to show support for our mayor. And so we were thrilled to say absolutely. And so if you don't know Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch, I will tell you that I don't know her that well, but I've been around the state and I've heard her speak to a variety of different groups, from tiny little Rotary clubs up to large gatherings like this. And I think I can say this with a bit of confidence. I have not seen an elected official at that level that she is at that has as much local knowledge of the community, of every community I've seen her visit, of what's the boots on the ground, the needs of the community, understanding what makes that local community tick. It's been really impressive. Obviously, she's a good study and has a wonderful staff, But that authentic understanding of the local communities that she visits of all different sizes has been really impressive to me, and so I just want to say thank you for that. If you don't know what the Lieutenant Governor does, I'm just going to give you a couple of quick things. I'm not going to read the whole bio, but the portfolio of a Lieutenant Governor in Indiana is extraordinarily large. It's not someone in waiting for the next job in case the guy bows out, right? There's a full boat of work there that she's involved with. Statutorily, she oversees the Indiana State Department of Agriculture, which is really important to a good portion of our state, if not all of our state, because we all eat. Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority, the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, which does a lot of wonderful work in our rural communities, and Indiana Destination Development Corporation, which obviously is helps tell that story of Hoosier hospitality in Indiana. She chairs the Roundtable on Mental Health and Intellectual and Development Disabilities Task Force and the Civics Education Commission. That's just a snapshot of what she has on her portfolio. But again, we're thrilled to have you here. We are so grateful for you, for the work you do around the state and for your support for Noblesville. So Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch.
Well, good afternoon. Oh, we can do better than that. Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be here, and when in Rome, do as the Romans. I am sporting a vest in honor of Mayor Chris Jensen. It's wonderful to be here. As a former county commissioner, I want to applaud and recognize your county commissioners for their leadership, Commissioners Altman, Commissioner Dillinger, and Commissioner Harebrant. And also as a former state legislator, and now President of the Senate, I want to also recognize and thank Senator Baldwin and Representative Goodrich for their leadership. You have incredible leaders here in Noblesville and in Hamilton County, so let's give them a thank you. I always like to share with people a little something about myself that you may not know. Some of you have heard this. What you may not know is that when I got married 44 years ago, I kept my maiden name, which was really pretty unusual back then. My husband is Larry Downs. Now, I thought about hyphenating my name, but Suzanne Crouch Downs? Anyway, it's great to be here to introduce my good friend, Mayor Chris Jensen. And you know, I don't know about Chris's journey, but mine has been a little unusual. Never thought I would be the 52nd Lieutenant Governor of Indiana because I didn't grow up in a political home. But my parents raised me with the kind of values and principles that led me to public service. They raised me to believe in God, to believe it takes hard work to get ahead, to believe in equality and opportunity, not equality of outcome. But they also raised me with a strong sense of personal responsibility, but to readily accept that I have a responsibility to help others who are less fortunate. And that is what ultimately led me to public service, and I know that's what ultimately led Chris Jensen to public service. You know, when Indiana is thriving, Noblesville is thriving, and Indiana is thriving. As a result of 17 years of fiscal conservative leadership, we now have balanced budgets, we have low taxes, and we have healthy surpluses. And as a result, Indiana is #1 in the Midwest. We're 6th in the nation for our business environment. We have the best infrastructure in the country. And we're one of 14 states with a AAA credit bond rating by all 3 independent rating agencies. Incredible accomplishments. But they can't be credited to government alone. Government may light a path, but it is you, the hardworking men and women, who are taking the risks and making the sacrifices that have put our state on a path to prosperity. And because of that, people are choosing to live in Indiana. Because of that, businesses are choosing to locate in Indiana, and many of them right here in Noblesville. Why Noblesville? It's the quality of life that they enjoy here. And why is quality of life so important? Well, you know, it used to be that people followed businesses, but today businesses are following people. And people want to live in communities where they enjoy that quality of life. And why that is so important is that's how we attract talent. And I want to commend Mayor Jensen for the work you are doing and the projects you have put in place to promote and support that quality of life here in Noblesville. But one of the things I'm most proud of, Chris, is you're standing up for those vulnerable Hoosiers that are struggling with mental illness and addiction. 1 out of 5 Hoosiers struggles with mental illness or addiction. And we all know Hoosiers who have faced those challenges, particularly since the pandemic. Some are our own family members, and my family's no exception. My mother suffered from depression, my sister committed suicide, my brother's an alcoholic. Those Hoosiers who inherit genes that predispose them to these conditions deserve an opportunity to be successful. We owe them that opportunity, and that is what I am most proud of, Mayor Jensen, is your efforts to lead the battle for addiction and mental illness and to be able to lift up those Hoosiers. I stand here before you as a proud Evansvillian because while I have an apartment and I live up here during the week, I go home to Evansville every weekend. But I will say this, it is an honor and it is a pleasure to call Chris Jensen not just my friend, but the best mayor in the state of Indiana. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage the best mayor in the state of Indiana, the Honorable Chris Jensen.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you. That's a lot to follow. I was telling Suzanne she won't regret her outfit choice. Her core is warm, her arms are free. I would encourage you all to try it out any day. Vests are very practical. It's great to be with so many of you. I know what some of you are thinking. If you haven't seen me in a year, I have grown up. I can grow facial hair. Somebody told me earlier that the facial hair makes my face look skinnier. So next year I may look like Chewbacca when I'm up here in front of you, based on that comment. Thank you, Bob Dubois and Tom and the entire team at the Chamber. This is a hefty crowd, and it's not done easily. It takes a lot of work to get all of us in a room here today. I want to thank my team, all the members of the Noblesville family. 480 employees serve you every single day. A lot of them are here today, so help me thank them for their leadership. I oftentimes am credited with delivering the message, but so many of them put in the hard work every single day. Here in Noblesville, we have a great leadership team, and that involves an amazing city council. And I want them to stand up and give them a round of applause as well, please. At the end of the day, they're the ones tasked with paying the bills and allotting the funds, and not every city has the great relationship that we have here in Noblesville, so thank you. And thanks to all the elected leaders here who are here with me today. I want to thank my beautiful wife for taking time out of school and educating the youth of America for being here today as well, and all those teachers that Lance was so nice to pray for. My family's here. I got to tell you, it's an incredibly exciting day, not just because you get to listen to me for a brief period of time, but because I became an uncle for the 10th time this morning. So there's a Jensen brother that's not here because his wife gave birth this morning to a little Amelia. So it's an exciting day for all of us here in Noblesville at Riverview Hospital. So Seth, take good care of those folks there at Riverview. I love Noblesville. I will say that all the time. I talk about it all the time. I've been talking about it all the time. I am not afraid to continue talking about it. I love Noblesville by car, by foot, by boat, but I will tell you, Noblesville is exceptionally beautiful by drone. So let's take a minute and see some great footage of some of the things we've been doing over the past year. It's incredibly exciting to see that view, and one of the reasons I wanted to have our Lieutenant Governor here today is because those projects don't just happen with just local leadership. But a lot of the infrastructure projects I'll talk about involve good state leadership as well. So I appreciate all that she has done for our state. She is a phenomenal Lieutenant Governor. And before I go any further, I want to say I look forward to the day that she can remove the word lieutenant from her title, because she'd make a phenomenal governor, and she'd have my support. So if you recall, 2.5 years ago, I stood before you and told you a little bit about a parable from 2 Samuel called, the tagline was Chasing the Lion. It was a book I had recently read by Mark Batterson. I know many of you have read it since because you've discussed it with me. And the theme behind it was Benaiah goes into a lion's den and chases a lion and battles a lion and comes out successful. The whole tagline of that entire story was, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And that sounded great 2.5 years ago. As a young neophyte mayor, 2 months into a term, having no clue what was around the corner, and then a global pandemic hits. But I'm proud of the fact that for the past 2.5 years, almost 3 years now, with the help of great department heads, great local leadership, great citizens, we have been able to chase that lion. So I wanted to spend a little time with you today, not just talking about the future of Noblesville, but reminiscing a little bit about where we have been and what we have done over the past 2.5 years. If, like me, you have been frustrated at times by traffic in Noblesville, by cones, that's progress. And it takes time, and I'm learning to be patient with some of this, but I want to review a little bit about what we said we were going to do and what we're doing today. One of the cool statistics that I'm proud of was this summer, we announced in July that as of July 1 of 2022, over the past 2.5 years that we've been elected in office, we have announced over $1 billion of private investment in the city of Noblesville, which is an incredible landmark for our community. It says a lot not only about Noblesville, but about central Indiana, and really Indiana as a whole, and we are incredibly proud of that statistics, and we're going to continue to flaunt it. I'm going to talk a little bit about it today. You'll see about a year ago, I announced a project called Innovation Mile. Now, Innovation Mile, when I announced it, to be honest, was somewhat of a figment of our imagination, something we were starting to bake up, something that had a clear vision, but we had no idea, and Andrew Murray, my economic development director, and Chuck Haberman can tell you, had no idea the amount of attention we'd see come out of Innovation Mile. Now, Innovation Mile is a master plan, nearly 300-acre site just next to us here at NBC Suites, adjacent to I-69, that we're working with some good friends at WSP to master plan a site for innovative companies, med tech companies, technology companies, advanced manufacturing companies, the companies that have the jobs of tomorrow who want to locate in central Indiana. We want to make sure that at the end of the day that they land in Noblesville, Indiana. And since that time, I'm excited to say that actually just earlier this year we had our first announcement there, which was a group called Innovation One. Innovation One is going to house 2 companies, Certus Medical as well as Radiology Care Services. They'll be investing $12.6 million into this building that you see behind me. It's a 90,000 square foot space that will have new medical equipment manufacturing as well as flex space available. Those are the exact type of companies we want to see landing in Innovation Mile. Now, for retrospect, just so you know, Borg Warner, a Fortune 500 company that calls Noblesville home, is the first company located within Innovation Mile. Innovation One will be the second and third company, and I'm here to announce today a brand new announcement. A company will be announced today called Indiana Joint Replacement Institute. It'll be a $31 million investment here focused on ambulatory care, a surgery center, leading technology for joint replacement, as well as research in joint replacement. So give them a round of applause. A $31 million investment is huge for our community. Innovation Mile continues to take off, and if you have any companies looking to locate in central Indiana, please let us have a conversation with you. We're master planning that site to be a site of the future. A site where EV technology, charging stations, shuttleless buses will be able to operate around Innovation One, adjacent to I-69, and we're excited to lead the master planning of that site. Government is not the vehicle to create jobs. The government can provide the infrastructure and the plan in place that the private sector then can come alongside and create those jobs, and that's exactly what Innovation Mile is aimed at. Now let's travel a little bit south of Innovation Mile and talk a little bit about residential development. About 6 months ago, we announced a project called Hyde Park. Adjacent to Hamilton Town Center, we quickly realized over the last several years that we have a real need for livable and walkable options next to Hamilton Town Center. Hamilton Town Center is a unique open-air mall here in Hamilton County that is in Noblesville, Indiana. And we're proud of the fact that our friends in the retail space have found a strong home at Hamilton Town Center. They partner up well on weekends and during the week in the summer times with our friends at Ruoff to provide great meals and shopping experiences. And we know that as our corporate campus, such as Innovation Mile, explodes, we want to have some residential options for them, so we announced Hyde Park. You'll see that Hyde Park will be home to the first 4 mixed-use developments in this site, the Towns and Flats at Hyde Park, the District, Gateway, and Village at Hyde Park. All in, this will be a $306 million investment with 1,200 units available. So you'll see a lot of dirt moving here in and around Hamilton Town Center over the next several months. Not only does this increase our residential capacity, but it will be also home to our city's newest park and parkland going forward to add more much-needed park space on the east side of Noblesville. Now let's fly out over to to 146th Street and River Road, one of the key gateways to our community. To our south is a neighbor called Carmel, and to a little bit to the west is Westfield, and to the east is Fishers. This is a key area for Hamilton County, and an area we announced about a year ago, a redevelopment of this site. You can see the site of just a couple weeks ago with dirt moving and land being cleared, and we're excited to see the final vision when it comes to life of the River West development. River West will house not only townhomes for residential, but there'll be mixed residential and apartment community, as well as retail and senior living available in this space as well, adding much needed capacity to the 146th Street corridor for those who wish to call Noblesville home, and we're excited about it. A little bit north of that, on the west side of town, sticking with the west side of town, we announced several months ago a project called Midland Point. Near and dear to my heart, this is not far from the Jensen household and is adjacent to the Midland Trace Trail, one of our best commodities that we have in Noblesville. The Midland Trace Trail currently links to downtown Westfield and to downtown Noblesville, but will eventually go all the way into downtown Noblesville and meet up with the Nickel Plate Trail, where you'll then be able to make a full loop on the Nickel Plate down to Indianapolis, north on the Monon to downtown Westfield, across the Midland into downtown Noblesville. We know that that trail is not only used daily by walkers and bikers, but it's also a hotbed of area for folks that are looking for retail outlets, for livable options, and that's what Midland Point is focused on. We'll have some stacked flats in Midland Point, as well as some retail options for folks with some trail connectivity off the Midland Trace Trail, so folks can get to restaurants and coffee shops easily here on the west side of town. Let's talk a little bit more. It was mentioned earlier, Bob mentioned it, SMC, I think they're here today. SMC is a great partner of ours. They're our largest private sector employer in the city of Noblesville. If you travel down 146th Street and see a building that just goes on and on and on, that's SMC. SMC currently occupies about 2.4 million square feet of commercial space here and industrial space on the 146th Street corridor. They are our largest private sector employer. I appreciate the efforts that they've taken over the past year to become more community focused in Noblesville. They hosted their first ever community day earlier this spring, where they opened the doors for tours, for folks to come in and see what just happens behind those doors. And I would encourage you to get to know Kelly Stacy and her team at SMC, because they're first-class individuals with cutting-edge technology leading our private sector development in Noblesville. And I'm here to announce today that they're going to invest another $2 million just this year and add another 60 jobs by 2030, focused on their clean room. So SMC, thank you for continuing to double down in Noblesville and buoy our private sector investment. Give them a round of applause. And I can tell you, while SMC and advanced manufacturing may pique your interest, nothing piques your interest like a brewery. So this month, we announced our friends Beer Brewery will be locating their third space in central Indiana here in Noblesville. It'll be a beer and tap room with 6,000 square feet with an outdoor dog park sitting area as well on the South 10th Street corridor. What's just as important as the investment is where Beer Brewery is going. Beer Brewery is going on South 10th Street in an area of the city that can really benefit from a quality of life initiative like Beer Brewery, where we're also adding infrastructure improvements for drainage and trail connectivity to get folks to get those fabulous wine slushies that we've heard so much about. So welcome Beer Brewery to Noblesville. We're excited to have you. Let's talk about something near and dear to my heart, infrastructure. If you know my history, I came from the infrastructure world prior to serving as mayor. And I've often said that if Indiana is in fact the crossroads of America, I believe that Hamilton County should be the crossroads of Indiana. And if you've ever tried to cross Hamilton County, you know we have some work to do, right? We are getting some things done, and thanks to our friends, the county commissioners, who are well aware of this as well. They were mentioned earlier, are incredible partners. And with their support, we have invested heavily in north to south mobility in the city of Noblesville and Hamilton County. State Road 31 and 37, US 31 and 37, and Keystone Avenue are great examples of north to south corridors that are working well and helping to flow traffic throughout the county. And now it's time to double down our efforts on east to west connectivity in the city of Noblesville. A project that you're going to roll your eyes out because I've talked about it for a long, long time. Pleasant Street. I'm going to continue talking about it. Steve Dillinger has talked about it since the mid-1980s. It has been on our thoroughfare plan since 1995. In 1999, we estimated Pleasant Street to cost roughly around $6 million. Pleasant Street, for anyone who's not from here, will add a new bridge over the White River and a new east to west corridor through our community. I can tell you we have studied it many, many times. We've looked at every route possible, and we will break ground later this year on a $125 million expansion of Pleasant Street to help traffic flow east to west in our community. This is a project that I've jokingly said to my predecessor, John Ditzler, and others, that I know why others didn't necessarily want to tackle it. It has been a little bit of a challenging process the last several months as we have worked through this corridor. Anytime you put a corridor through an urban core, there are tough conversations to be had. But with folks' leadership like Ali Krupski, our city engineer, in partnership with our friends at the county who will be funding the bridge, we've had those tough conversations. We have to have those tough conversations. Traffic in downtown Noblesville is not going to get any better. It's time to make some investments and help reduce traffic in downtown Noblesville. Not only will this corridor help reduce traffic by nearly 30%, but will allow the Midland Trace Trail to extend into downtown, as I referenced earlier, over the White River, connecting our folks in the Southwest Quad to downtown, and have more mobility options as they head over to downtown Westfield or different areas in Noblesville on the Midland Trace Trail. That connectivity is key. When I worked for state government about 15 years ago, those were called quality of life investments. Today, they're just called trails. They're expected. And Hamilton County in particular, they're absolutely expected. We have to invest in it. It's what's going to bring jobs of tomorrow to Noblesville. The Lieutenant Governor said that so eloquently, that jobs follow people. And we have to continue to grow in our population here in the city of Noblesville in order to have the workforce necessary to carry our city into the future. Pleasant Street is a major part of that. If you have any other questions about that, www.reimaginepleasantst.com has an incredible flyover there. We'll talk about the benefits. You can see the many studies that we have done. Kudos to previous administrations and others on the city council who have helped to gather all the material necessary. This has not been a one person's journey. This has been many men and women's journey over the past 30 some odd years, and I'm looking forward to cutting the ribbon on all three phases of it by the end of 2025. So get excited about that when it comes to traffic in Noblesville. Speaking of key partnerships, you probably drove through it today. You may have cursed it a little bit. We have partnered with our friends at the Department of Transportation to add 2 new roundabouts on State Road 32. I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Seth Warren and his team at Riverview Health. They've been incredible partners. Nothing is done. It is a very challenging situation when you go close a main entrance to your county hospital that provides incredible care to our community. But we did that for 30 days earlier this summer, and while it may not have been completely seamless, it was done with preparation, with real genuine care for patients in our community. That new roundabout, which the southern half is now open, will be officially done in about 6 weeks' time, allowing east to west traffic to move smoother through our community. And then in 2023, we'll move just a little bit to the west to River Road and State Road 32 and add a roundabout there, all focused on adding east to west mobility in our community, all ahead of our friends at the Department of Transportation, who will undergo a widening of State Road 32 all the way to downtown Noblesville starting in 2024. So I appreciate their partnership. I appreciate the council's vision and willingness to help invest and fund this project to move it up on the to-do list for our friends at the Department of Transportation. Speaking of trail connectivity, I mentioned it earlier when it comes to Beer Brewery. We were awarded several years ago a grant through our friends at the federal and state government to add some connectivity to our southern half of our community. If you grew up or live currently in the Wellington neighborhood, you know that you've been on an island for some time, but no longer. We have added a new path along South 10th Street to connect some of our southern neighborhoods to our downtown. This investment right here is exactly what helps spur Beer Brewery's investment in Noblesville. I think it's important to point out that we're not just building roads and trails just for the fun of it. We're doing it with a grander plan in place to bring economic vibrancy to our community, and that's what the South 10th Street Trail will help us do. Some other roundabouts we've focused on, just after the State of the City last year, we cut the ribbon just up the street at 146th Street and Oleo Road. Kind of a roundabout that seems somewhat in the middle of nowhere, but will be actually really in the middle of Noblesville's next chapter. One thing I want to highlight with this, when we opened this roundabout, the next weekend was the last concert at Ruoff of the 2021 season. Chris Stapleton, if you were there. It was sold out. And at the end of the concert, Andrew Newport, a good friend of mine who manages Ruoff, called me to let me know that they were able to clear the entire parking lot in 52 minutes, which was 35 minutes faster than they have ever cleared a parking lot because of this infrastructure investment. Again, tying it back to, there is a grand plan why we do these things. It's all about quality of life. It's about folks having a wonderful experience, whether they're coming to Hamilton Town Center, whether they're coming to our downtown, whether they're coming to Ruoff. It's all part of a plan, and I appreciate the effort given there to get that roundabout open. Additionally, a new roundabout's been opened at Bowdoin and 156th Street. This is adjacent to the new Deer Creek Elementary School. First of all, I love the name, Deer Creek Elementary School. Second thing, you might say, but Chris, you're talking about an elementary school that's part of the Hamilton Southeastern School System. I absolutely am. But let me tell you that Deer Creek Elementary School is the first elementary school, or the first school for that matter, in Hamilton Southeastern School System that's located within the city limits of Noblesville. As Noblesville grows, unless we win a battle at some point in time, which is a whole other speech, our city will eventually be half Hamilton Southeastern students and half Noblesville students. Anything east of east of Summer Road in Noblesville actually go to Hamilton Southeastern schools. But this roundabout was imperative to make sure our students, HSE or Noblesville for that matter, stay safe as they're commuting to and from their school day on a daily basis. So this is an exciting, Bowdoin Road will continue to be an exciting corridor for our city going forward. Another area of focus, which really is the area of focus, public safety. As Noblesville grows to now be the 10th largest city in the state of Indiana, at times we have 10th largest city challenges. Crime knows no jurisdictional boundary. And if we're going to invest 47.8% of our annual $93 million annual operating budget on public safety, we have to think outside the box. This national narrative of defunding our first responders is a complete farce, in my opinion, and falls on deaf ears here in Noblesville. Not only are we funding our public safety officials, we're funding them in new ways to make sure they are properly trained, properly staffed, and properly supported going forward. Now that, yes. Thanks, who started that clap? You got me a drink, thanks. Public safety is a key foundation to any community, any county, any state. But I can tell you, and I've said it many times before, we're not fighting many house fires in Noblesville, thankfully. And the police chief hates when I tell you we don't even write that many traffic tickets in Noblesville, to be honest with you. But what are we doing? We're focusing on mental health in our community. We're dealing with folks who are struggling with mental illness, with anxiety, depression, addiction issues, as the Lieutenant Governor mentioned earlier. We're dealing with folks who are homeless or fighting food insecurity on a daily basis. So 2 years ago, we launched proactively a program called Noble Act. I told you a little bit about it at the time, and it's only grown since. Noble Act is a proactive paramedicine program, a program that highlights and identifies members of our community who may have challenges, and works with them before they get into our legal system, before they get into our medical system, to get the support they need to become better members of our society. That is not only the right thing to do, it's the fiscally sound thing to do. It's not giving a handout to our residents, it's giving them a hand up, getting them connected to the right services. And that's what people like Ben Luger and our mental health therapy dog Luna, who I'll talk about here in a minute, do on a daily basis. At the end of the day, if we can reduce 911 calls, whether it be for those suffering from mental illness or even the senior community that has slips, trips, and falls, if we can reduce those 911 calls, it actually has a positive fiscal benefit to the city of Noblesville. So again, not just the right thing to do, the fiscally responsible thing to do. With that, because of a generous private donor, we were able to purchase one of our state's first ever mental health therapy dogs, Luna. You see her here on the screen. She's a black lab. We have several canine officers in within the city of Noblesville who help us fight bad guys. Luna does the complete opposite. Luna goes with us on calls where there's a domestic violence situation, where kids are involved. She may go with us on a call where there was a death in the home. She may go with us on a call where there's a veteran who is suffering from PTSD. And what does Luna do? She does what every good dog is supposed to do. Sniff you, jumps on your lap, and licks you a little bit. And that instantly helps someone feel calm, helps them process their emotions, helps share that vital information with our first responders to make them better prepared to handle the situation. And not only is she for the public, which we've used her over 110 times since she came on earlier this year, but she's also used internally. I don't think we fully appreciate what our first responders see on a daily basis. They have to be on the scene of kids who have maybe lost their life in a pool. They have to go to a car accident where someone may have lost their life. They can be right in the middle of a horrible domestic violence situation. And then what do we ask them to do? To continue doing that all day long, and then go home and be a husband or a wife, a father, a sister, a caretaker, all while processing all that they saw throughout the day. So Luna is just as much there for them as she is for the public. And I'm excited to announce that later in October, Luna will have a buddy named Carbon who will come on because of that same generous donor, continuing to do great work and investing in mental health in Noblesville. It was touched on earlier, but mental health has been a signature of our administration, something I'm probably most proud of the work that we've done over the past 2.5 years. We launched a program in March of 2020 called Mental Health Monday, where I simply go on Facebook Live and tell you my feelings. And it can be super awkward at times, but I've tried my best to be vulnerable. And I figured if a male Republican who lives in Hamilton County, who's married with 4 kids, can share his feelings in front of anyone who wants to watch, hopefully that makes it a little bit easier for one of you to maybe share some of your feelings and help process through that. I know I've heard from so many, particularly baby boomers during COVID, who were homebound, who maybe weren't brought up to talk about some of their emotions, who watched Mental Health Monday and watched what I was able to say and were able to really help process their own emotions. So I thank all of you. We average about 1,000 viewers every time we have a show. We've done nearly 60 shows of Mental Health Monday that are all archived on the City of Noblesville's page. In addition, we launched about 1.5 years ago at Mental Health, the Noblesville Wellbeing Coalition. It's chaired by myself and the superintendent, Dr. Dan Heil, who was recognized earlier, and it's our way of coming together to bringing all the resources around the table to help us tackle and openly talk about mental health. So be on the lookout for some more resources and some more action from that coalition as we get going into a new year. Finally, let's talk about community and downtown development. I love our downtown. Obviously, the people in the video earlier loved our downtown too. They must be very full and slightly tipsy based on how many meals they had in that video. They looked like they were having a great time. Noblesville's downtown is unique. It's what every other community is trying to recreate. But we are the ones that have a historic, authentic downtown core. We have to be committed to preserving that, but also growing that and helping to support small businesses in our downtown. Esther Lakes is here, and she always challenges me to, quote, dream big and think outside the box. She calls me Downtown Charlie Brown, and she always says that no details should be spared when it comes to our downtown. Am I correct, Esther? Yes, thank you very much. And we've tried to do that. We know that folks travel from all over the state of Indiana to see our downtown core. So about 1.5 years ago, we rehabbed the Logan Street Bridge in conjunction with our friends at Hamilton County. And during that time, we took time to add a big bump out there for connectivity. We know that Federal Hill Commons is becoming a hot spot, and we want to make sure folks can get across the river in a safe way. And then earlier this year, we were approached by Dick Gordon, a local businessman who had an idea. As he traveled the world, he had an idea to develop a bridge of flowers in our downtown. This is a public-private partnership a partnership between the Gordon family and Hamilton County and the city of Noblesville to invest in some aesthetics, some greenery and flowers on the Logan Street Bridge. Our goal here is to get anyone and everyone visiting our community, taking selfies, taking their homecoming photos, taking their prom photos in downtown on the Bridge of Flowers. So I want to thank the county for allowing us to partner with them and the Gordon family as well. This is another part of the investment in downtown Noblesville. This is called East Bank. We announced this several years ago. The site you're looking at on the screen now is where the old McMillan's towing station was, as well as the county parking lot. A parking lot in an urban core on a river is a very bad use of a parking lot. Our river is one of our best assets, and if we can add livability, if we can add walkability, if we can add restaurants to that downtown core and to that urban core along the river, it's a much better use of space. This project is under construction currently, will be open late next year for folks to live on the river, to shop on the river, and add more individuals living, eating, spending their money in downtown Noblesville, which is one of our biggest goals. A little bit to the west, our old Marsh site has been transformed into the Nexus project. 9 buildings, a multifamily, as well as some commercial space there next to our friends at the Noblesville schools, ESC. They get to see it every single day and see that construction. We're excited to have some new residents that will be flanking our western edge of downtown and call Nexus home. In downtown a year ago, we cut the ribbon on the Levinson project. I have to give kudos to my predecessor, John Ditzler, who helped us shepherd this project into our downtown. The Levinson was our first mixed-use development in over 100 years. It's home to 83 units and our city's first ever parking garage. And I can tell you by the time we cut the ribbon on it, it was at full capacity. So we're excited about that. And we're averaging a little over 50% capacity on the parking garage every day. So citizens are getting more and more comfortable parking in a parking garage, which I never thought I would talk so much about, but it's an incredible thing in our downtown. So make sure you try it out. First 4 hours are free, by the way. Try it out. Also in downtown, thanks to a partnership with Darren and Monica Peck, the Lofts on 10th is well under construction, will be open later this year. A great example of urban design that keeps with the historical nature of our downtown. These brownstones are home to 23 different units, as well as many thousand square feet of retail space right on North 10th Street, just 1 block off the square, and we're excited to get that open later this year. The final thing I want to leave you with is a project that is near and dear to my heart. When you come into office as mayor or any elected official or you take over the helm of any company, there's always different people in your ears with different ideas to make your community better. And oftentimes I've learned that I can't say yes to everything, and we have to weed through that and have those conversations. But I found out that Noblesville was the only community in Hamilton County that didn't have an overarching youth sports organization. That's imperative because, as Suzanne Crouch mentioned, jobs are following people. People are following quality of life. And you know who's making a lot of decisions when it comes to where they want to land within Hamilton County? They're basing those decisions a lot of times on youth sports. So in partnership with our friends at Noblesville Schools, we launched the Noblesville Youth Sports Alliance. This is a one-stop shop for 17 different youth sports organizations where you can learn about all the youth sports organizations in Noblesville. In the future, you'll be able to go on there and download different waivers and forms, and it'll be one area for anyone currently living in Noblesville or who are moving to Noblesville to learn about the different youth sports that we have in our community. Dave Lyda is the executive director of that, and it's an incredible partnership that we're excited to launch within the city of Noblesville. The state of our city is strong. Last night we announced and introduced to the council our 3rd consecutive balanced budget, a budget that spends less than we take in, a budget that invests in people, places, and things, a budget that is focused on one Noblesville that invests in public safety, one Noblesville that invests in its people, in its downtown, in its infrastructure. It is a high honor every single day to serve as mayor. I get up every day and cannot believe that I have the privilege to be mayor of my hometown, a city of 70,000 people, a city with diverse opinions, a city that welcomes those opinions, a city that embraces its past as we head into our bicentennial year next year, but a city that is even more excited about its future. So thank you for all that you do to support not only the chamber, but this community. Thanks for supporting me and my family, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you very much.